We are now joined by the newest member, though it's not that new anymore, of Hahn, Humpty, Canty, and everybody. Chris Canty with us right now. Welcome to the team, sir. We haven't had a chance to talk to you since you joined the station.
Oh, man, I appreciate it, man. It's exciting, man, having the opportunity to talk ball all day long. I love it, man.
So, all right, I know hazing's a bad word now in football.
We're starting with this?
Yeah, I got to start with this.
Oh, my goodness. Canty just joined us. We can't start with this.
So my co-host, Gaz, lost a wager to my 13-year-old daughter on their college basketball pool. So he is dressed fully like a Hooters girl today for the show.
What? A Hooters girl? Wow.
And a legitimate, like, Chris, we did not go to, the costume store. We have a legitimate Hooters girl outfit, so it's entirely too small.
And Chris, I'm a Division III football offensive lineman, so it's, above 245 here. It's not looking great.
You're not painting a pretty picture for me, but I'm trying to figure out how you ended up losing.
All right, we gave her a couple points. Like, she had Oregon going deep. She had Wisconsin. She had some horses, like thoroughbreds here in Saratoga. So she had going deep. That's why I got beat. Stupid Arizona and UCLA.
Because he might have secretly wanted to wear this. I'm not sure.
Yeah, gotcha. Wow. That's a tough one to pay off.
Chris Canty, Super Bowl champion, and now member of the team right here, and of course anywhere you can hear Hahn, Humpty, Canty, and everybody. What's the worst thing you've ever seen a grown man have to wear, like whether it be hazing, a wager, or whatever?
I think high heels. I think that's probably the worst thing a guy has had to wear is high heels. We do a rookie. I guess one of the teams that I was on, we had the rookies do these skits. And I guess one of the rookies had the part of one of the people that worked in the front office, one of the ladies that worked in the front office, and they had to wear heels. And it's never a good thing when you see a 250-pound man walking around in high heels. It's just a bad look. Just a bad look.
We didn't think that through. We should have made him wear heels.
This is good as it is right now. Hopefully, Chris Canty stays on the air with us here throughout this entire interview. Hopefully so. We'll start with this.
Hopefully we can make it through.
Just be glad it's not Skype.
Yeah, we'll actually ask you a sports question here, too. Your thoughts on the New York Giants offseason so far?
Well, I thought it was a solid offseason. They went out and got Brandon Marshall from the New York Jets. And although there are some issues in terms of being able to work out the chemistry in the wide receiver room and that whole dynamic, I think that Brandon Marshall solves a question for them, solves a part of their problem in terms of being able to beat press man coverage. They needed a big body receiver that's out on the edge that can present a big target for Eli Manning when those receivers try to roll up and disrupt the timing with that West Coast offense. Obviously, B. Marshall can be a red zone threat as well. He's a guy that's been productive in terms of his on the field throughout the course of his career. And certainly there are some things in terms of chemistry in the locker room that are issues. But if they can get all of that figured out, I think that's a fantastic signing for the New York Giants. And, of course, with the pay scale, $6 million a year, I mean, that's definitely reasonable. So if you can get him to add him to that offense, I think it brings another dynamic. You want to improve that offense. They were down in scoring from 2015 last year. They were averaging only 19 points a game. They got to figure out how to get some more offense to go along with that championship caliber defense.
Chris Canty with us, right now, 104.5 The Team. Chris, have you heard anything what's going on with Owa Odigizua, the defensive lineman for the Giants, who just goes on Twitter and says, look, I think I'm out?
Yeah, there was some cryptic messages on social media from Double O. But, from what I understand, he still intends on playing football. We just don't know what the timetable is. We don't know what's going on in his personal life. But certainly he's a player that the Giants were anticipating getting a better look at in terms of being a rotational piece. And look, we saw what their defense can be last year, but, we start talking about JPP and Olivier Vernon playing over 90% of the snaps defensively. I mean, for a defensive lineman to be able to do that, that's asking a lot. You can't have that kind of snap count for those guys and expect to get the production that you're going to need from them to be able to compete for a championship. Make no mistake about it, the New York Giants are in win-now mode. You got Eli Manning for only a couple of more seasons. You got a small window that you got to capitalize on. And if you want to be at your best, you're going to have that defensive line rotation. When the New York Giants are winning championships, you got to have that deep defensive line. And right now, Double O figured to be a part of it. So certainly you got to watch that the rest of this offseason and see what happens with that situation.
Yesterday, the news comes down that Tony Romo is going to step away from football and join the CBS sports crew. Were you leaning towards Romo possibly playing in 2017, or did you believe retirement was ultimately what he was going to decide to do?
Well, I thought Romo had more football in him. And look, why come back and play against Philadelphia late in the season other than to show teams that you're healthy enough to play football And so coming this offseason, being able to have an opportunity to sign on with another team and compete. I thought he had more football left in him. He had the unfortunate back injury in the preseason, and no player wants to walk away from the game under those terms, right? You get hurt and you're forced into retirement. You have a rookie that takes your job. You want to still go out and prove that you can play this game. So to see him walk away when clearly there was interest around the league for Tony Romo to at least get a look at having the opportunity to be a starting quarterback this coming season, it was a little bit surprising for me.
Chris Canty with us right now. Of course, you can catch him every weekday right here on 104.5 The Team with Hahn, Humpty, Canty, and everybody. Chris, when you look at this Jets team, I know you guys aren't shy in letting us know what you think of them. Is there any way this is a good season? And if we have to settle for less than good, what could we consider a win for them?
Well, I guess what you have to define as good, and by good you mean being able to be in a position to draft one of those quarterbacks in the 2018 quarterback class. When you start looking at the New York Jets, it was a lot of addition by subtraction this offseason, removing a lot of the veteran stalwarts on that team. And Woody Johnson came out after the season and said Todd Bowles and Mike McCagnon will be judged on the improvement of the young guys. Now, that in terms of, their development coming along. And I guess that has a lot to do with the quarterbacks that you have on the roster, right? You have Christian Hackenberg, who you redshirted last year. You have Bryce Petty, who you didn't really get an honest look from because the rest of the team didn't necessarily play at its best around him. So you got to evaluate your young talent on your roster. That's the Leonard Williams of the world, your Darren Lees, obviously the quarterbacks, your young receivers, Robbie Anderson, Quincy Enunwa. You got to evaluate those guys to see, what they can do, what's possible. But I think ultimately when you look at the Jets, this is a season where they're looking to see who's going to be a part of the solution long-term for the organization moving forward. I have low expectations for the New York Jets going into 2017.
And let's get into Hahn, Humpty, and Canty for the people here in the Capital Region 104.5 The Team. What's your favorite part of the show, or maybe the most unknown thing about the show, a little insight into your daily prep for that show?
Well, I'll tell you what, man, coming in the studio, you never know what you're going to get from Rick DiPietro. He's absolutely nuts, but I love coming to work with him. He's just, he's witty, he's funny. He brings the entertainment value to talking about sports. And then certainly Alan does a solid job of driving the show, and making sure that we don't get too far off topic, because when you have two athletes in the room and you got this locker room atmosphere in the studio, things can go left sometimes. So, it's always great being able to come in the studio and talk shop with those guys just to talk about ball. I say it's always the best 3 hours of my day. We enjoy doing what we're doing and bringing our unique perspective to sports in the New York City area.
Chris Canty, want to thank you for bringing the Super Bowl to New York, and thank you for being entertaining every day before we come on.
Levack and guys, thanks for having me on, guys.